The desert wind cut across the open plains, carrying dust and heat as a lone cowboy rode toward the Apache camp. His horse moved slowly, exhausted from days without rest, its hooves leaving shallow marks in the red sand. The man himself looked no better, clothes torn, face burned by the sun, eyes shadowed with fatigue. Still, there was something unyielding in the way he sat his saddle, something that refused to bend no matter how harsh the land became. Near the center of the camp, 3 women stood beside a crackling fire. They were known among the Apache as the widows, women who had lost warrior, husbands, and with them, any patience for weakness. Naya was the first to notice the stranger. Her sharp eyes narrowed as she watched him dismount, her lips curling into a mocking smile. Scylla followed her gaze, crossing her arms with quiet contempt, while Kiona tilted her head, studying the cowboy as if he were an amusing mistake made by the desert itself. "Well," Naya said loudly, making sure others could hear, "it seems a lost crow has flown into our camp." Scylla stepped closer, her voice cold and measured. "He must be desperate or foolish to wander here alone." Kiona laughed softly, the sound light but cruel. "Perhaps he thinks bravery will save him." The cowboy heard every word. He felt the weight of their eyes and the heat of their scorn, yet he did not respond. He simply removed his hat, wiped the sweat from his brow, and stood still, meeting their stares without fear or apology. His silence unsettled them more than anger would have. Around them, warriors paused in their tasks, watching with interest. Mockery was easy when no consequences followed, and the widows seemed to enjoy every second of it. Naya circled him slowly, as if inspecting a broken tool. "Does he even know where he is?" she said, laughing again. Before the taunts could continue, a heavy presence settled over the camp. Conversations died. Even the fire seemed to crackle more softly. From between the tents emerged Chief Taze, tall and commanding, his expression carved from stone. His eyes moved from the widows to the cowboy, taking in every detail. "That is enough," the chief said. The widows fell silent at once. The cowboy straightened instinctively, sensing the authority in the man before him. Chief Taze studied him for a long moment, then spoke again, his voice calm but absolute. "This man will come before the council." Shock flickered across the widows' faces. Their laughter faded, replaced by unease. As warriors stepped forward to escort the cowboy, the women exchanged glances they did not yet understand. What had begun as cruel amusement had drawn the attention of fate itself, and none of them knew what price would soon be demanded. Night had fallen by the time the council gathered, and the fire at its center burned bright against the darkness. Shadows of elders stretched across the ground as they took their places in a wide circle, their faces solemn and unreadable. The cowboy stood alone before them, hands relaxed at his sides, though every instinct told him he was surrounded by danger. He had faced gunmen and outlaws before, but this silence felt heavier than any threat he knew. Chief Taze rose slowly, the firelight reflecting in his eyes. He studied the stranger for a long moment, as if weighing not only his actions but his spirit. The widows stood nearby, their earlier confidence gone, replaced by guarded expressions. Naya's jaw was tight, Scylla's gaze fixed on the ground, and Kiona's hands trembled slightly as she clasped them together. "This man did not wander here by accident," Taze finally said, his voice steady and strong. 2 days ago, Comanche raiders attacked near the river. 3 Apache children were taken. This man followed the raiders alone. A murmur rippled through the elders. The widows looked up sharply, disbelief flickering across their faces. "He fought them," the chief continued. "Not for reward, not for praise. He fought because it was right. The children live because of him." Naya swallowed hard. The words struck her like a blow. The man she had mocked stood taller now, not with pride, but with quiet endurance. Scylla felt shame tighten in her chest, while Kiona's cruel laughter from earlier echoed painfully in her memory. The cowboy shifted his weight and finally spoke. "I didn't do it for honor," he said simply. "I was nearby. Anyone would have done the same." Chief Taze raised a hand, silencing him. "Not anyone," he replied. "Very few." The fire cracked loudly as the chief turned toward the widows. "You laughed at a man who showed courage when many would have fled. You dishonored yourselves and this tribe. Naya opened her mouth to protest, but no words came. Scylla clenched her fists, her pride warring with the truth. Kiona felt her face burn with shame. Our laws are older than all of us, Taze went on. When honor is repaid with mockery, a debt is created. That debt must be answered. The cowboy's eyes widened. Chief, I don't want trouble, he said. I'll leave at first light. You will not, Taze said firmly. The elders leaned forward as the chief delivered his judgment, his voice carrying across the night. To repay this life debt and restore honor, the 3 widows will take this man as their husband. Gasps broke the silence. The widows cried out at once, shock and anger flooding their faces. This is impossible, Naya said. We will not do this, Scylla added. Taze's gaze hardened. Refuse, and you will be cast out. Silence fell again, thick and suffocating. The widows stood frozen, their fate sealed by their own laughter, while the cowboy stared into the fire, realizing his life had just changed forever. The days that followed were heavy with resentment and uneasy silence. The marriage was carried out according to tribal custom, but there was no joy in it, no celebration, only the distant beat of drums and the watchful eyes of the camp. The widows kept their distance, their movements sharp and controlled, as if any sign of softness would betray them. To them, the cowboy was a punishment, a living reminder of pride turned against itself. He accepted it without complaint. At dawn he rose before anyone else, tending to the horses, repairing broken tack, and hauling water from the river. He hunted alone, returning with game that fed not only his new family, but neighboring tents as well. He spoke little, never demanding respect, never reminding the widows of the chief's command. His patience, quiet and steady, began to wear down the anger they clung to so tightly. When Naya was thrown hard from a restless horse one afternoon, it was the cowboy who reached her first. He lifted her gently, ignoring her protests, and carried her all the way back to the camp, while blood soaked through his sleeve from a deep scratch. She said nothing. But that night her eyes followed him with confusion instead of hate. Scylla's change came more slowly. Proud and guarded, she trusted no one. But when a group of rival warriors mocked her near the edge of camp, the cowboy stepped between them without hesitation. He did not raise a weapon. He simply stood his ground, his voice calm but unyielding, until the men backed away. Scylla watched him then with new eyes, realizing strength did not always shout. Kiona struggled most with the past. Nightmares of her fallen husband often stole her sleep, leaving her shaking in the dark. One night she woke to find the cowboy sitting outside her tent, keeping watch in silence. He did not touch her or speak, only stayed until the sun rose. Something inside her finally broke, and tears came without shame. The true test arrived at dawn when a rival tribe attacked, arrows slicing through the morning air. The camp erupted in chaos, but the cowboy fought like a man born for battle, moving with fierce purpose. He shielded the widows, taking a wound meant for Naya, and refusing to fall until the threat was driven away. When the fighting ended, he collapsed to his knees. The widows rushed to him, fear replacing pride. Blood stained their hands as they helped him to the ground. "We were wrong," Naya whispered. "You are one of us," Scylla said quietly. Kiona held his hand, her voice trembling. "Forgive us?" The cowboy looked at them, pain etched across his face, and managed a faint smile. There was nothing to forgive. From that day forward, the camp no longer saw a punishment, but a bond forged by fire, respect, and hard-earned loyalty.